International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, has chaired a meeting of the Council of Ministers which will address several topics, notably the progress of the work on the Gharj Bilat mine and the Tindouf Bashar mine and railway line. The WHO has raised concern about alarming figures reflecting the severe medical crisis in the Gaza Strip following the death of over 900 patients waiting for medical evacuation. And the UN has affirmed that there is an acute lack of food in Al-Fasher, Sudan, stressing that the access points to Al-Fasher are closed by the rapid support paramilitary forces. And those were the major developments. Now the full news edition. I'm Asya Bakar. Good afternoon. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has chaired a meeting of the Council of Ministers which will address several presentations, notably the progress of the work on Gharj Bilat mine and the Tindouf Bashar mine and railway line. The Council of Ministers is also tackling the upgrading of administrative districts in the high plateaus and the south to fully empowered provinces, the completion of work on the 500-bed University Hospital Center in Constantine, and the acquisition of special equipment for the benefit of the Digitalization Development Support Foundation. Also, President Abdelmajid Tebboune received today the President of the African Development Bank Group, Dr. Sidi Walt Tah. The meeting was attended by several high-ranking officials, notably Algeria's representative to the African Development Bank Group, Mr. Ali Bohrawa. Now, Algerian-Vietnamese cooperation will gain new momentum in the upcoming months thanks to several agreements currently being finalized and various initiatives that will soon be implemented, particularly during official visits by senior Vietnamese officials and business leaders expected to arrive in Algeria as from this week. Mohamed Khater reports.
In a statement made on the eve of the 13th session of the Algerian-Vietnamese Joint Committee held today in Algiers, the Vietnamese ambassador to Algeria noted encouraging signs and several projects that will further strengthen cooperation between the two countries in the coming months. This session, scheduled to continue until next Thursday, will address the current state of cooperation across various sectors and assess the implementation of the recommendations from the 12th session held in Hanoi in October 2023, with the aim of defining new directions for bilateral partnership. Finally, the ambassador expressed his country's desire to expand cooperation to include other areas, including education, culture and sports, noting that more than 30,000 young Algerians practice Vobinam and many of them travel to Vietnam to participate in competitions.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International, and the Minister of State, Minister of Hydrocarbons and Mines, Mohamed Arkab, has affirmed in Algiers that the hydrocarbon sector has achieved significant results in recent years, emphasizing the need to focus on promoting technology and strengthening effective partnerships with national and foreign institutions to further enhance its performance. Mariam Barshi has the details.
In his address during a meeting of energy and renewable energy officials held under the theme for a distinguished public service, Mr. Arkab stressed that the hydrocarbon sector has made significant progress over the last years in the areas of exploration, production and refining, thanks to the wise policies of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, who has put energy security and sovereignty over national resources on the top of his strategic priorities.
The new organization of the Ministry of Hydrocarbons and Mines stands on the principle of specialization and efficiency, managing the technological, financial, commercial and geopolitical complexities in the hydrocarbon sector requires high experience, permanent monitoring and ability to adapt to the international changes in the global markets of oil and gas, in addition to keeping up with the challenges of local valorization through refining, petrochemistry, mining transformation and logistic services.
Regarding the mining sector, the Minister indicated that the sector's new vision is based on the rational and sustainable exploitation of resources through extensive geological exploration, expanding the investment base and developing national value chains. He noted that the new law regulating mining activities enshrines the principles of transparency, efficiency and simplified procedures and opens the door to balanced partnerships that ensure technology transfer, training and resource valorization. Mr. Arqab also addressed the issue of seawater desalination, which has become a priority within his ministry's portfolio, given its strategic role in achieving water security and supporting industrial and agricultural development. The Minister of State added that the mining sector is experiencing a qualitative revival, which necessitates specialized governance capable of structuring activities, attracting investments, framing the sustainable exploitation of resources, and strengthening Algeria's integration into global value chains for strategic raw materials. On the occasion, Mr. Arqab called on officials to accelerate the pace of implementation and intensify coordination between provincial directorates and major institutions, such as Sonatrach, Sonelgaz and Sonaram, with the aim of implementing public policies, enhancing performance efficiency and ensuring better service for citizens and economic institutions. It is worth noting that this meeting took place in the presence of the Minister of Energy and Renewable Energies, Murad Adjel, and the Secretary of State to the Minister of Hydrocarbons and Mine in charge of mines, Karima Tafir.
You are still listening to Radio Algeria International. The Minister of Energy and Renewable Energies, Murad Adjel, has affirmed that the number of agricultural farms connected to the electricity grid since 2020 has exceeded 100,000, highlighting the sector's efforts to contribute to boosting national agricultural production. In a speech delivered at a meeting of sector officials held under the theme of For Distinguished Public Service, Mr. Adjel explained that Sonagaz has so far connected 100,432 agricultural holdings to the electricity grid. The program to connect agricultural farms to the electricity grid was launched in 2020 in accordance with the instructions of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, regarding energy connectivity and achieving food security. Regarding the electric vehicle charging station program, Mr. Adjel confirmed that 1,000 stations have been completed across the country, including along the East-West Highway. In parallel, the sector has so far installed 17 million carbon monoxide detectors free of charge in citizens' homes throughout the country, according to the minister, who affirmed that the process is making significant progress. Furthermore, the sector has ensured the connection of 5 desalination plants to the electricity grid.
As for agricultural farms, Sonelgaz has managed to successfully connect more than 100,432 agricultural farms, a program to which the state attaches a great deal of importance, in line with the instructions of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, in implementation of the food security program. In addition to the completion of 1,000 electrical charging stations for electric cars across the entire territory, notably the East-West Highway, and which will enter into production right after laying the organizational and legal basis which are under study. The sector has launched in parallel of what has been mentioned above, and in implementation of the instructions of the President of the Republic, the operation of the installation, free of charge, of CO2 gas detection meters in the citizens' households. Over 17 million devices have so far been installed, as the operation witnesses a clear progress across all the country's provinces. Still, with the sector's contribution in implementing the state's programs aimed at improving the citizens' living conditions, the sector is supplying 5 seawater desalination plants with electricity to allow citizens to benefit from potable water supply, while the project of connecting 3 other plants with electricity is still under study.
And that was the statement of the Minister of Energy and Renewable Energies, Morad Ajal. Now, the Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, Army General Said Shengriha, has supervised the inauguration ceremony of new healthcare facilities in the 1st Military Region. As part of the celebrations commemorating the 71st anniversary of the outbreak of the glorious November Revolution, the Army General oversaw the inauguration ceremony of these new healthcare facilities in the 1st Military Region. And now the Polisario Front representative in Spain, Abdallah Arabi, has said from Madrid that the Sahrawi people are determined to continue their struggle against the Moroccan occupation until independence, calling on the Spanish government to assume its historical responsibilities in Western Sahara. During a demonstration held in Madrid under the slogan 50 Years of Resistance and Occupation for Western Sahara, the Sahrawi diplomat said the people of Western Sahara are fully determined to continue their struggle and their resistance until they obtain their legitimate right to self-determination and independence. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International, and members of the Sahrawi community have taken to the streets in large march in the Spanish capital to denounce the Madrid Accord signed 50 years ago and to defend the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination and independence. Participants were expected to march to the Spanish Ministry of Foreign Affairs, carrying slogans calling for the Sahrawi people's right and demanding that Spain assume its historical responsibilities in the conflict. Separately, during a speech delivered on the sidelines of a documentary screening about her life, Sahrawi activist Aminatou Haidar said that by supporting the so-called Moroccan autonomy plan for Western Sahara, Spain is contributing to the perpetuation of an illegal occupation. She considered the Spanish government's decision to recognize the so-called Moroccan autonomy plan as a deliberate abandonment of its obligations as the administrative power, stressing that Spain must fulfill its legal and historical duty to guarantee decolonization and the right to self-determination of the Sahrawi people. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International and to the Middle East. Now, in Palestine, the death toll has risen to 266 victims and 635 injuries, with 548 bodies recovered since the ceasefire agreement was reached on October 11th. Mariam Barshi reports.
3 Palestinian bodies were recovered early this morning following a Zionist airstrike east of Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip. The Israeli occupying forces have been carrying out demolitions of buildings in the northern part of Rafah, also in the southern part of the besieged enclave, accompanied by intense gunfire from Israeli helicopter gunships east of Khan Yunis. This came as the World Health Organization raised concern about alarming figures reflecting the severe medical crisis in the Gaza Strip. More than 900 patients died while waiting for medical evacuations due to the Israeli occupation restrictions on issuing travel permits for treatment outside Gaza. The WHO explained that approximately 16,500 patients are still waiting approval for evacuation, including 4,000 children in urgent need of life-saving medical transfers. The organization warned that any further delay in dealing with critical cases equates to a death sentence. It added that hospitals in Gaza are operating at less than half of their capacity due to shortages of fuel, medicines, and essential supplies.
And in Sudan, at least one person has been killed and 4 others wounded in a drone attack on an oil pumping station in the town of Al Jabalia Line in White Nile State. Mohammed Khatil.
The government official said the Rapid Support Forces carried out the attack targeting the station by firing 4 missiles at the facility. The attack killed an engineer and hit the station's electrical unit and water tank. The Al Jabalain station is the first bombing point for crude oil transported from the fields of Upper Nile State in South Sudan to the Sudanese port of Bashair on the Red Sea for export. The conflict between the Sudanese army and RSF has repeatedly disrupted the flow of South Sudanese oil through Sudan. Before the conflict in Sudan, South Sudan, which gained independence in 2011, exported approximately 120,000 barrels of oil per day through Sudanese territory. Sudanese authorities and human rights organizations say RSF is using drones to target civilians in several cities. The conflict in Sudan between the army and RSF, which began in April 2023, has left tens of thousands dead and more than 15 million displaced people.
Meanwhile, the deputy spokesperson of the UN Secretary General Farhan Haq has affirmed that there is an acute lack of food in Al-Fashir, Sudan, adding that the access points at Al-Fashir are closed by rapid support forces. Haq explained in a statement to the press that RSF prevent UN missions from reaching Al-Fashir, underlining the importance of investigating the crimes committed there. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. That's it for our news bulletin. I invite you now to listen to a cultural program compiled and presented by Jamal Salmani.
Hello to your weekly program Destination Algeria. I'm Jamal Salmani. There are a number of great destinations in Algeria that waiting to be discovered. A curious mixture of cultures and influences. Algeria has something interesting to see in just about every city. The country is also the first largest on the African continent, so you can be sure that there are plenty of towns and cities to visit. Let's visit Algeria's fascinating destinations, you and I, together. Amsel is a small town situated just south of Tamanrasset province. Tamanrasset or Tamanrasset is a province in southern Algeria in the Ahagar Mountains. Tamanrasset is the chief city of the Algerian Tuareg. Near to Amsel, you will find the huge Ahagar Mountains, also known as the Hogar. They are situated in the middle of the Sahara Desert and the southern part of Algeria. The Ahagar mountain region is mainly a rocky desert area with an average altitude of more than 900 meters above sea level. The highest peak, Tahat, is at 2,918 meters above sea level. A celebrated and especially visited point is the Askram, where Charles de Foucault lived in the summer of 1905. Amsel is a lovely destination for a day trip, and it is a wonderful retreat during the busy summer months. The town has a great reservoir, and swimming is allowed. The water of the reservoir is clean and clear and usually has a nice cool temperature. Amsel itself is very much a stranded town with very few attractions to see, but it's worthwhile to stroll around the shops for a bit of relaxation and bargain hunting. As long as you keep in mind that Amsel is a small village situated right in the middle of the Sahara Desert, you'll be fine. Amsel has a typical desert climate. It is very hot and sometimes unbearable in the summer. In sharp contrast, Winter temperatures often fall well below 0 degrees Celsius. Rainfall is very rare and sporadic. However, since the climate is less extreme than most other areas of the Sahara, Amsel is a major location for biodiversity. Today, Amsel and Tamanrasset province is a prime tourist destination in Algeria. In the first part of our program, I mentioned the name Charles de Foucault. In the second part, we will tell you more about him with Mohamed Barazwan.
Forming part of the Ahagara Mountains, also known as the Hogar Mountains in southern Algeria, the Askram is a spectacular collection of narrow mountain peaks in shades of brown and ochre, which have been artistically carved by the elements. This geological wonder attracts visitors from far and wide, while awestruck by its natural beauty. The Askram is also renowned for being the site of the hermitage of Charles de Foucault, which is now the retreat of Little Brothers of Jesus, who continue the humanitarian work he started back in 1910. Charles-Jean de Foucault was born into an aristocratic family in Strasbourg, France, on the 15th of September, 1858. He became a Trappist monk in 1890, left Morocco in 1897, and traveled to Algeria to live a life of ascetic solitude. He founded a hermitage in Beni Abbas, Algeria, and welcomed visitors regardless of their religion, social status, or ethnic origin. Later on, Charles de Foucault moved to Tamanrasset in southern Algeria to be with the Tuareg people. He used the highest point of the Ahagara Mountains, the Askram, as a place to establish his hermitage. He associated closely with the Tuareg for a period of more than 10 years, during which time he studied their cultural traditions and worked on a dictionary and the grammar of the Tuareg language. Charles de Foucault died in 1916, just outside Tamanrasset. The dictionary was published in 4 volumes after his death, with rich and accurate descriptions. Charles de Foucault was considered to be a martyr of the Catholic Church and was beatified by Pope Benedict XVI on the 13th of November 2005. Visitors to the Askram will not fail to agree with Charles de Foucault, whose words are inscribed in a book of his writings at a hermitage. Quote, "The beauty of the view defies description or even imagination. It is marvelous." Unquote.
Là. Reculez, sinon on va boucler le passage jusqu'à ce soir. Laissez-moi passer. Silence. الخير عليكم. تطلع فوق السطح وتريح لنا قدام. إما لا شوف